Okay, so we place this here and then we start. Ladies and gentlemen, hi, how are you? I'm your professor, so my name is Moises, and we are going to present lesson 2. Okay, so we go through this. Yeah, okay, so going to. This is our elementary English conversation class. So, going on it. Today we are going to work with lesson 2, my country. So now we are going to talk about culture, and then talking about the content, we have the grammar part. And in the grammar part we are going to work with the verb be, and also with the simple present tense. Basically, we can use other structures, yes, but basically we are going to use those. So now in the vocabulary part we are going to work especially with adjectives, and in the majority of the cases we are going to work with adjectives or qualifications. So the function, so is going to be, you are going to describe the good and the bad aspects of the Peruvian culture itself. Now, in our learning achievements, we have this, that you, students, at the end of this session, you are going to be able to discuss about the different aspects of the Peruvian culture and lifestyle. And then you're going to show respect and interest for your classmates. Okay? So go on. Why is it important to talk about culture? It's a good question for many people. So, it's because we can describe many aspects of human beings' lifestyles. Through culture, we can tell many things and many characteristics of people's lives in a certain nation or country. So, yeah, here in the previous knowledge, I would like you to look at these photos. Look at the different photos I am showing to you. Now, my question is this. What do they represent? Obviously, that all of them in the different pictures, they are different manifestations of culture. From number 1 to the last picture, we see the different manifestations of culture around the world. And now please, going on the next slide, I would like you to see this picture. Look at the bowl torn down on the floor, and here is the bullfighter saying thinking himself that he is something like a champion or the king of something, and the photo is really sad, right? The animal on the floor, on the ground, and the man with the expression of victory. So look at this. My question is this culture? Do you consider this as culture? And this is what I would like you to think on that. Think about it. To think if this is a real representation of culture, and if you have if you agree that it is, please send me your ideas. Right? Going to the next one, please. Here. What do you think culture is? We're going to define. We're going to talk about different aspects of a definition about culture. And tell me also, why do you consider that culture is important? So, try to think about it. I'll give you time. I'll give you time for this. Discuss with your partners through the chat canvas, and we are going to give you time for that. We go on, and then we go to the next slide. You have said different opinions about culture. Now, let's watch this video, please.
That's a good question.
Life.
Worldview.
Existence.
La culture, c'est un choix.
La culture, pour moi, c'est un mode de vie. Je dirais que c'est l'ADN des peuples.
Culture is the basis of.
I'm sorry. So we are going to. Okay, we are going to restart the video so we can have the good configuration for it. Okay, let's do it. 1, 2, and 3. Go.
That's a good question.
Life.
Worldview.
Existence.
La culture, c'est un choix.
La culture, pour moi, c'est un mode de vie. Je dirais que c'est l'ADN des peuples.
Culture is the basis of a society.
Je dirais que c'est un peu comme le sang qui coule dans les veines d'une communauté.
Culture is our connection to our ancestors.
Well, I think culture is what makes us human.
La culture, c'est ce qui identifie un peuple.
C'est finalement l'expression de la créativité des humains.
Culture is shared expression, shared ways of being, and shared knowledge.
Just to show who you are and where you're from.
Maybe culture is kind of like a matchup between kind of who you are and where you come from and where you think you're going to go.
Culture is expression and movement.
Culture is what makes every human, which are 99% identical, unique.
We define culture.
People and their experiences.
La culture est définie, je pense, par l'environnement dans lequel les gens vivent. C'est l'expression de leur identité la plus profonde. I think everything around us defines culture. The city we live in, the people around us. Culture is defined by the land and the people.
But for me, it has to do with expression through artistic means.
Selon moi, la communauté elle-même définit la culture, mais surtout aussi les aînés.
The people in a neighborhood, town, word, it's the people who define culture.
Family, the things that surround you, your environment, are the things that define culture.
C'est les traditions, les valeurs, l'éthique des peuples.
C'est le peuple qui définit la culture.
La culture, c'est défini par la volonté des gens de vivre ensemble. La personne qui définit la culture, la première personne, c'est nous-mêmes.
I define my culture.
Culture in my life is central to who I am and what I do, and it enriches every part of my life.
On aime la beauté, on cherche la beauté, parce que c'est une des plus grandes satisfactions qu'on peut avoir dans la vie.
How I live my life every day in relation to the place that I live.
I'm a bridge between two worlds.
Culture is the basis of everything. It's that's a really lame answer, but it's true. It's the basis of everything.
Okay, so now going on with the class. So I will like you to get the different definitions of culture, and now we have some of them. For example, the customary beliefs, social forms, and the material traits of a racial, religious, or social group. According to this, and here, the characteristic features of everyday existence, or where I can say the set of shared attitudes. So we can consider values, you can consider goals, objectives, and also practices, and that characterizes an institution, an organization, a corporation. So we have different. And going on this, obviously the values are part of this, and the conventions and the association of the practical and social manners in the way we live life, or we have our lifestyle in a particular field, in the activity, or in the society, in the characteristics of the society. Also, so there's integrated pattern of human knowledge. So there's a model, and the belief that is very important in everyday's life, because we have freedom to choose which religion we want to believe in, and the behavior that depends upon the capacity of learning and transmitting knowledge of succeeding the generation, I mean to the people who come after us. And then and enlightenment and excellence of things acquired, so by your intelligence and the training of this aesthetic training. Well, so we have seen different some definition about what culture is, technical definitions obviously, and now we are going to have one more, the other process, cultivating living material, because we are material, but also we have to consider that we need to cultivate ourselves, to cultivate our life, and for that we need nutrients, and it's very important to consider them. So now, what about the characteristic of a culture? What do you think are the most important and the most considerable characteristics in a certain culture? Well, I'll give you time for your answers. Go. And then we start with a video, right? So we can have an idea about it. So let's see if you have some coincidence about this. Go ahead. So we have watched this video. So I suppose there must be some coincidences with this video and your opinions. Okay, I guess we can discuss this later about it. Look at this here now. What are characteristics of a typical culture? So the culture is learned behavior. It's abstract. It includes attitudes, values, and knowledge. So it also includes material and objects shared by members of the society. It is super organic and it's pervasive. Okay, so and then we also it's a way of life, and we have to consider that finally is idealistic. Then in the other part, we also culture is transmitted among members of the society, and then it's continually changing, so it never stops. Normally, it changes along time life. A language is a chief vehicle of culture, so you need a language in order to communicate with the rest of the people about what the culture is about. So it is integrated in different aspects. It is dynamic because sometimes it requires movement, and its transmissive culture varies from society to society. So the Peruvian society has a different culture as the Argentinian society, for example, and so it is in the European societies too. And it's gratifying because normally the people feel very happy when they have or when they enjoy these manifestations. Look at this here. The types of culture. So what are the functions? What do you think are the functions of culture? I give you time to discuss this topic, and then we are going to see some functions of the culture. Okay, give you time. Okay, very good. So we can keep on sending your messages through Canvas or chat, so we can have your different opinions and points of view. So we have here, for example, now the functions of culture we find it different. For example, as point 1, for example, we can say that it has a boundary defining role. So that is so. Culture creates distinctions between one organization and another, so it's not the same in one country to another. In the other part, so in the next point, so it conveys a sense of identity for organization members. So the people of a country who has a culture must be very identified with their customs and traditions. Now, as point 3, we say that culture facilitates the generation of commitment to something larger than one's individual self-interest. It's very important, right, of this value in order to assist anyone's necessity that might be required in the moment of any living time. Well, in point 4 we have, for example, point 4, it enhances the stability of the social system. The culture is social glue that helps hold the organization together by providing appropriate standards for what employees should say and do. So it's very important, that point. And in the other part, we have one more here, point number 5, and the final point. Culture serves as a sense-making and control mechanism that guides and shapes the attitudes and behavior of employees. Yes, so it's very important to mention that, and it is this last function that is of particular interest to us, right? So, watching these 5 points of the function of culture, we may continue. If there is an opinion, we can receive it through your campus chat, so I can attend it and then immediately give feedback back as soon as possible. Now we are going to continue. So, what elements do you think culture has? Watching this picture and the other one too, what are the main elements, or maybe the necessary elements, for one thing to be considered as culture? So I'll give you time for you to discuss these points and decide what is the what are the elements what you say are necessary for this. Give your time. Okay, so we have finished this part, and we are going to analyze some elements that are necessary for a culture to be considered. Then, the language. The language is something very important because it's a means of transfer of someone's thoughts to another one's brain or mind or whatever you want to call it. So, through language you communicate. Obviously, that is very important to be considered. Norms. Norms are rules that you are going to fulfill in order to keep on doing things with discipline, and they are very necessary. The symbols. Symbols are for you to be used as a guide, right? Guide not to your eyes especially, but to your conscious mind, as considering part of a culture of the nation that you have to consider, and you have to be conscious all the time. For example, in the case of a country, the symbols of a patriot, for example, or the symbols of the national Peruvian state. I mean, which are the symbols? That's very important. And the other ones, values. Values are necessary, are the most important part maybe for many people, because with these ones you can do a lot in order to help people around you. Now, the attitude. The attitude is how you are going to face something, what thoughts you're going to consider in your mind to face something that you are about to do. Rituals, if it is necessary, if there is a dogma, if there is the country has an official religion, or maybe the group of people share religious beliefs, so it is very good to consider them if the community conveys in one religion too. Customs and manners, obviously, part of everyday life and characteristic of everything in your daily life activities. Material culture, so what am I going to use? For example, music, or maybe dances, or maybe handicrafts. Well, I'm just mentioning what is possible for this. Education, one of the pillars of these manifestations. With no education, there's nothing about culture. Now, physical artifacts. You see physical artifacts wherever you go to a country. So you go sightseeing and then you can see different manifestations of these handicrafts, and then also called souvenirs, and they're very nice. Here, language jargons and metaphors. In the language, there are different levels that you have to consider, because you must have an attitude in order to be manifested in front of any people or any society. So if your level of language has to be standard or maybe high. So stars, myths and legends are part of those. Everybody knows about it. For example, the myths and stories and legends of the history of Peru. Ceremonies and celebrations so are very important because we remember different traditions through them. Behavioral norms and also shared beliefs and values. Okay, so the way we behave, how we act in front of the rest of the people, in front of the community. So going through this now, here there comes another question. So what are the factors affecting culture? For example, so here you can have some things in your idea, factors affecting culture. I think, in my opinion, I would consider, for example, the bad culture of the WhatsApp and the electronic devices. I mean, the bad usage of electronic devices, they demolish any nation's culture, and it's very important. For example, in my consideration, for example here, I'm going to ask you which factors affect culture in your consideration among you as a group of my students. Okay, I'll give you time to discuss through the chat of Canvas. Well, so now we go on in our lesson, and so we are going to see the following. For example, here, factors affecting culture. Number one is centralized and decentralized decisions making. So that's very important for everyone. So because when you centralize the situation, so everything converges in just one place or one scenario, and sometimes it is not convenient for the aim and the objective of someone's, or maybe an organization or community. So is decentralized too, because in the other extreme maybe we can have some things that can affect culture. And then safety and risk. Everything has risk, everything has safety. So you have to manage these situations in order to get good conclusion if you want to get something through a community. Then informal and formal procedures. Okay, obviously informality is not a good recommendation because informality comes with mistakes, and that is the problem. Formality too. Formality can have mistakes, but the thing is that the formality has a special model or pattern, a pattern that you can use or you can base on in order to not to make mistakes. The other one, cooperation and competition. Everybody puts their hands and everybody tries to overcome situations that also compete in order to be the best of any community. High versus low organizational loyalty. Okay, that's right. So if you do not maintain the good, let's say, a velocity or speed of something going on, that is a problem. You cannot be so high or so low. So in this case, when we talk about loyalty, you have to be all the time loyal in order to demonstrate your good values. So the people, when the people see you that you are a loyal person, obviously that you are going to be surrounded by very good people too. So short-term and long-term horizons. So you have the short-term horizon and the long-term horizons. You have to design a set of horizons that you can get or that you want to get. Some of them would be short and some of them will be long, but they are objectives that you have in mind, and it's very good to see what is your purpose, what do you want. So stability and innovation all the time. It's good to stay and to maintain the stability and keep on working in the same level, and every time innovate and get with new ideas, goals and objectives all the time, for you to know that which or what thing do you really want to get. Transformation. And our transformation, we have the culture of Peru. Now it's time to talk about Peru. Look at these photos, and in all of them you're watching different manifestations of the Peruvian culture, right? So tell me, do you think the people of Peru have a real notion of what culture is? What do you think about it? I'll say this question because you might have different opinions, right? I'll give you time for your entire discuss between you. Well, so we are going to continue with this, okay? What do you think? I guess that watching this, we are going to watch a video and compare the ideas you have with the reality of what really happens in Lima, okay? We're going to watch just a few minutes of it, not an entire video maybe, okay? But it's going to be very interesting in order for you, in order to understand or remember or have in mind clearly what Peruvians think about culture, or how do they show their culture in any moment that might be asked some questions like this man. Okay, go ahead and let's play the video.
Confundir a un expresidente peruano con el Papa.
¿Dónde, Papa?
Presidente de a nuestros héroes con mártires.
Ese que estaba nadando, que fue al mar. Él es José Laia.
Los rostros con los que crecimos en el colegio se han vuelto absolutamente desconocidos. Me te están fallando los lentes, espérate. Míralo bien. Es bien, Pacho. Prepárese para darse de cara con la realidad de la educación. Cuando los rostros que forjaron la historia se vuelven un arroz con mango en los pulpines, cerebros. ¿María Magdalena? No. María Magdalena. No me acuerdo. Ha pasado exactamente un año desde que tomamos las calles para un simple, didáctico y papayete examen cívico-patriótico que todo peruano debe saber como el Padre Nuestro. Y así nos fue. ¿Quiénes están en el escudo patrio? Del lado izquierdo está la...
Una vicuña.
Ya, la olé.
¿De quina?
Al lado izquierdo tenemos...
A la llama. La llama, está la quinoa y está la
¿La córnea.
Claro, esa es la córnea.
Pero como acá somos tercos, esperamos hasta la llegada de otras fiestas patrias para volver a salir por el vuelto. El examen, los rostros de nuestra historia. La misión, reconocerlos. Pero para que nuestra chibolada no se asuste y salga volando, primero calentemos con combate.
Alejandra Baigorria.
¿Quién es?
Alejandra Baigorria. Alejandro. Agostini. Rafa Agostini. Pancho.
Sí, Pancho.
Pancho Rodríguez.
¿Quién es Pancho Rodríguez?
El chileno. Que está con Alejandro.
Chileno.
Chileno, que está
¿Con?
Alejandra Baigorria. Agostini. Bruno.
Combate bacán.
Un combate bacán.
Sí, combate bacán. Pero que pase nuestro héroe de la guerra, el aviador Don José Abelardo Quiñones. Míralo bien. Observa.
No le conozco.
Piloto. ¿Maneja un avión?
No le
Van dos y nada.
En el billete de 10 soles.
Sí, chibola, el mismo del billete. Vamos, alguien le tiene que achuntar.
José Chávez. Jorge Chávez.
¿Jorge Chávez? Casi.
¿De dónde es eso? Es el que estaba nadando, que fue al mar. Él es José Laia.
Turno del militar político ayacuchano y héroe de guerra, el mismo que muchos lo recuerdan solo por el brujo de los Andes. Suerte con los pulpines, don Andrés Avelino Cáceres. ¿Quién es?
Alfonso Ugarte. Sí, Alfonso Ugarte.
¿Por qué se le conoce a Alfonso Ugarte?
Allá, ¿cómo se llama? Para que se retiraba el señor del morro.
No sé, creo que es Miguel Grau.
So, you have seen different manifestations of the young people of Peru, and obviously, so the results are not good, or maybe they were not as expected. Many people thought had different ideas, but this is the reality of our society. So the thing is, okay, in this. So, and then, did you compare your ideas with the previous one? So, now please, one more. Culture in Peru. What do you think there's no real cultural awareness of what we really are? So, if we would like you to discuss in your groups. Discuss in your groups, please. Why do you think there's no real cultural awareness? So, why do you see you are shown a photo of a hero, for example, in the case of Miguel Grau, and you don't recognize him, and then you are shown a photo, for example, Captain America, and you immediately say this Captain America. So why does it happen here in Peru? That's what we would like you to discuss. Discuss, please, guys. Well, we're going to continue with this, and then we are going to see another reality of our country. Do people in Peru really have values? What do you think? You see around this question there are some photos, okay, of different bad manifestations of the Peruvian culture. You can recognize them, the pictures around them. So what about values? So do they are they copied? Are they intrinsic? You have them since you were born. So what happens to values in Peru? So I would like you to discuss through the chat with of Canvas and give me your ideas, because it's very important, right? Okay, give you time too. Well, we are going over the next slide. Look at this photo. What photos do you see in the photo? A man assaulting a woman for her cell phone. Then, in the case of drug traffickants, another example here, sexual harassment, and then typically in Peru, and the other one here, paying money, okay, dirty money for anything dirty too. You're paying maybe a professor, maybe something that you have to do, or maybe a police officer. Here, for example, police officer is being paid for any favor that he's doing to the driver. Now, the question is this. We're going to practice. Answer these questions. What would you do in these situations? What would you do in these situations? I'd like you to discuss, because it's a very practical manner to know how do you react, and also what do you do in certain moments when you have to decide what to do. I'll give you time too for this. Okay, so now we see the next one, and we're going to establish an evaluation like personal evaluation. Like for example, this. Answer this question thinking of your good manifestation of culture. Okay. Number one, what would you do if you were a professor and a student offers you money to pass the course? It's a typical question for professors and very good opportunity to manifest and to say, to give my opinion and my point of view about this situation that is not easy to consider. Here, number two, what is your reaction when there are people around you who consume drugs? How do you react? Do you react violently? Do you feel ashamed? Do you feel indifferent? How do you feel when there are people so like this around you in any situation that you might have been involved? Sorry. Now, number three, do you think penalties, judicial penalties are not fulfilled in Peru? Why? When you say are not fulfilled, that they are not real, so it's just the word, the law, and nothing. So the law is not used, so there's no penalty, so that is considered injustice. That's considered injustice. Reflect on question number three. Then, if you were in a hurry, means if you are worried about getting in time to some place and you need maybe to run, that's in a hurry, would you surpass the red light with your car? Obviously, if you had a car. And then, question number five. What do you think of homosexual movements in Peru? Are they okay? They are not fine. Is a deception? Is a crap? What do you think it is? Is it legal or not legal? If we do not accept them, or if we treat them indifferently, is that illegal? Is that incorrect from people who do not have this sexual orientation? Next, do you agree or disagree with the gender ideology? It's a very tough question because you have to establish and set some points in your consideration to say that you really agree or disagree, and sometimes you jump into wrong conclusions and you mixed up or messed up some things that you should say correctly. Then, 7. Would you vote again for a politician who has been accused of corruption? So this typically in Peru happens again and again and again and again every 5 years in our yearly calendar. So, and then finally we have this, our metacognitive questions. Number 1, how did you feel with the topics we talk about? Do you feel okay? Do you feel embarrassed? Do you think it's a waste of time? How do you consider it? Next, number 2, which were the most difficult for you? Which topics were the most difficult for you to consider? Then, in number 3, which aspects of Peruvian culture did you like? And which one obviously you didn't like? Finally, you say, do you put in practice your good values in your everyday life? Did you do it? Or do you just read it and just go on living your life your way without thinking that there are many people around you who have the right to be free without affecting anyone's life? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention. See you in the next class in lesson 3. Keep on working and then never give up practicing your English. Thank you very much and good night.